100 strong, because right here we keep it 100 strong. Hey man, check this out.
I apply the pressure. I apply the pressure. I apply the pressure. Yeah, pressure. I apply the pressure.
I'm gonna be talking about Marvell Thompson, right? So if you're from Chicago or you anywhere in the Midwest, you should know about Marvell Thompson, the Calumet Buildings, the BD Twins, so on and so forth, right? Now, Marvell Thompson was eventually indicted with 47 members of the Black Disciple Nation or street gang, but he cooperated with the feds, man. And by him being at the top of that pyramid, it really looks bad on the rest of the members in the street gang that kept it real, man. If your leader tell on you, what would you feel like? Marvell Thompson directly came after King Shorty, the Black Disciples' undisputed king, for decades before then. Back in 1993, he was convicted of a murder case, but it was later overturned because one of the witnesses or the main witness recanted their story. This nigga, Marvell Thompson, was hella rich, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of drugs were being moved a day. This nigga owned a strip club or a nightclub down in Atlanta. He even had a currency exchange so he can wash the goddamn money. His gang was so intricate, they had a pirate radio show where they would play music, but in between the music, they would let people know where the police were located, where people were being raided, if they seen checkpoints, anything, man. They would just have an eye on the cops, and it was out of control. The police didn't know what to do about it. The city didn't know what to do about the Calumet building, so they had to bring in the feds. In 2004, the indictment was dropped against Marvell Thompson. He pleaded guilty in 2005, ladies and gentlemen. So let's look at Young Thug and Gunna. He took a whole year. It only took a year for him to plead guilty. So if we think about Gunna and Young Thug, we'll say, well, Gunna pled in like a year, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's the same shit with him. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, he already admitted to cooperating with the police on his bid to try to get out. Now, Larry Hoover didn't do nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? That's not going on with Mr. Hoover. But yeah, it goes on with other leaders in Chicago. And let me just tell you guys this, man. This man does have an out date, man. 2028, Marvell Thompson will be back walking the streets of Chicago. Again, will he change a new leaf? I'm not sure, but we'll find out. Now, this brother Fiji, man, shout out to Fiji and Positive Lifestyle Management channel. You know what I'm saying? They've been putting in a lot of work, ladies and gentlemen, over there, bringing out these snitches, man. They trying to run out all the rats out they rat holes, you know. And I want to say this. I worked with this brother a couple of times. He's a good brother, man. I look at him as a mentor. I look at him as an OG. His words are truthful to me. And he's putting out these videos. And so I said, let me put my audience in tune with the brother Fiji and his channel and what they do over there at Positive Lifestyle Management. You know, shout out from over here at Members Only Podcast. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, they are considered members. So go ahead and subscribe to that channel. Now, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into his video because he's going to break down the paperwork intricately.
And the topic today is third-party cooperation. Many of you who have never been to the feds don't quite understand what third-party cooperation is. So third-party cooperation after sentencing reduction under Federal Rule 35B. Not only can an accused person receive a reduction when they cooperate with law enforcement, but a loved one can cooperate in order for an incarcerated person to receive a reduction in sentence. Examples of this may include a cooperator giving verbal information to law enforcement. So, meaning, let me break this down. Guys who are in the feds, what they do is they get their loved ones or friends who are out on the streets to cooperate while they locked up. Now, let me show you how selfish peoples are. The feds is so cold-blooded, they don't care how they get their information. They don't care. You could use your mama, you could use your daddy, you could use your sons, your sisters, your daughters, or whatever. You use them to go undercover to get somebody on record talking about some form of illegal activity. And The person in jail gets the benefit of you putting your life in danger.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, so let's just get this straight. Third party cooperation is when you recruit somebody on your behalf to go out there and get some information for the law enforcement or the government, the FBI. Go out there and get somebody else locked up, maybe make a sale or make a buy or do something to get that person to do a criminal act so that your loved one, your mom, your dad, whoever that's in prison can get a reduction on their sentence. But does it really work? How many times have it worked and who does it work for? Let's continue.
See what I'm saying? You put your life in danger so that this person can get a time cut. And let me explain this to y'all. The Federal Bureau of Prison is the only prison system in the United States of America where you can wake up in the feds with a life sentence. And if you have the correct information to give to the government, before 9 o'clock that night, you could be on the streets.
Brother got a point right there, man. The feds, the only judicial system or group that can let somebody go the same day. That shit don't happen in the States. You got to go through several judges, get signed off on. But it happens in the Fed. They want people on the streets immediately while they hot. They don't even want people to know they got picked up. So that kind of makes sense, Fee, when you look at it like that. They don't want nobody to know that you got picked up, so they try to flip you, then get you right back on the streets before lights out.
A cooperator giving verbal information to law enforcement. A cooperator going undercover to observe criminal activity. A cooperator agreeing to debriefing with law enforcement of officers, prosecutors, and criminal defense attorneys. And a cooperator testifying in court or testifying before a grand jury. In the case of new cooperation to be offered by an incarcerated person after sentencing, it is vital that the incarcerated person have counsel to approach the prosecutor and find out if the government is interested in the cooperation that the inmate wishes to provide. This information should guide the loved one's decisions to cooperate, especially given that the loved one was not a party to a plea agreement.
So they saying that they would believe a loved one more because they don't have nothing at stake here besides their loved one being arrested. They don't have nothing at stake. They're not going to benefit directly themselves off of the actions that they're about to take.
Case number 12-2814. Marvell Thompson, petitioner, appellant versus the United States of America, respondent, appellee. Now I'm gonna jump down. To here. It says, these are the judges that heard this case in the Seventh Circuit. You had Brewer, Posner, and Easterbrook Circuit Judge. Marvell Thompson pleaded guilty to conspiring to possess and distribute cocaine and heroin. See 21 USC 846 841 A1, and was sentenced to 540 months in prison. This court affirmed the judgment. See United States versus White. Thompson then filed a motion to vacate under 28 USC 2255, alleging that the government breached agreement with him and two others who cooperated on his behalf to recommend that he serve between 108 and 135 months in prison. And two, his attorneys rendered ineffective assistance at the time he pleaded guilty, at sentencing and on appeal.
All right, so they trying to work these two angles. One of the angles is that the feds did not keep up their end of the bargain. So with that being done, the deal was corrupted. And another thing is him saying that his lawyers were incompetent. And that's what people do. We come up with all type of ways. Sometimes your lawyer might drop the ball, so another lawyer can pick it up and do it better, or get another, just anything, just crazy nonsense goes on behind the scenes. This shit really is like an episode of Power when you break it down. But I'm not gonna break it down. I'm gonna let the homeboy Fiji break it down.
The district court denied his motion and we affirm. Background. In 2004, Thompson was charged by indictment along with 45 others for participating in a long-running conspiracy involving the distribution of vast amounts of cocaine, heroin, and marijuana by the Black Disciple Street gang in Chicago. Thompson was the gang leader known as a king, who oversaw the South Side drug operations, and used guns and ordered violence to further the gang's interests. After his arrest, Thompson immediately began negotiating a plea agreement with the government, hoping to limit his sentence to 10 years imprisonment and secure the return of more than $300,000 worth of property by the government that the government had seized. He claimed that the government tentatively agreed to these terms with him and his first attorney. But when Thompson's second attorney, Jack Friedlander, presented Thompson with a draft for the finalized plea agreement offered by the government, the terms were less favorable. Specifically, the factual basis of the agreement required Thompson to admit that he had been the king of the Black Disciples and had used guns to further the conspiracy objectives, and was responsible for greater drug quantity than Thompson was willing to acknowledge. Moreover, the government was only willing to render a sentence of 15 rather than 10 years and refused to return Thompson's seized property. Thompson informed Friedlander that under no circumstances would he agree to the terms of the written plea agreement, but nevertheless proceeded with a change of plea hearing. When Thompson arrived for the hearing, the district judge allowed him an opportunity to speak with Friedlander and his family, who all urged Thompson to accept the written plea agreement. After the conversation, Friedlander advised the judge that Thompson would not accept the written agreement, but that against counsel advice, he wished to enter a blind plea. Wrong move. Never enter a blind plea. Thompson told the judge, "I want to plead."
Wait a minute, what's a blind plea, man? Because I'm not sure. So is that like the same thing as pleading no contest? Maybe they have similar properties, but they could be just a little bit different, tweaked a little bit different this way, that way. I'm not sure. But, hit me in that comment section and let me know what a blind plea is. Because, like I said, I'm not sure. Shit.
Guilty to the things that I did, that I done. And things in that plea, I can't plead guilty to it because I didn't do it. Concerned that Thompson was affected by the emotional conversation he had with his family, the judge recessed the hearing until later in the afternoon. Thompson alleged that during the recess, he spoke with Friedlander and the prosecutor and reached an agreement to plead guilty to a limited factual basis that the government would agree to a guideline range of 108 to 135 months in prison. When the hearing resumed, Friedlander expressed concerns that despite the efforts to explain the nature of the conspiracy charge, Thompson's understanding of conspiracy and the law of conspiracy were two different things. The court conducted a thorough colloquy and as required by the federal rules of criminal procedures 11, advising Thompson of the minimum and maximum penalties he would face, ensuring that no promises had induced his plea, and warning him that the government at sentencing would seek to increase his guideline imprisonment range by proving the aggravating factors that Thompson refused to admit. Thompson then pleaded guilty to the conspiracy charge, and though he would not admit to the entire factual basis offered by the government, he did admit having sold more than 5 kilograms of cocaine and 1 kilogram of heroin to two members of the conspiracy, Donnell Jahan and Kenyatta Coates.
Yeah, he admitted that. That's public knowledge. We all know about that. This nigga is a snitch, the king snitch, if you ask me. You know what I'm saying? He's the king snitch. I heard a story. A couple of guys tried to go up on the deck where he was at, located in the feds, and they wanted to move him around, but he had a lot of niggas with him. He got a lot of people that got his back. This is the worst example of a snitch because he was actually responsible for a lot of the actions that happened in the streets, in the projects, and in the community in Chicago. He added to a lot of the stress situation, even though he did a lot of good things in his mind and in the minds of many others. It just don't add up to the destruction that you was helping do in the Black community, man.
You didn't want to admit to saying that you was the king and all these things, that you didn't want to admit to that. But what he did do, he admitted to selling 5 kilograms of cocaine and 1 kilogram of cocaine to 2 members of the conspiracy, Darnell Jahan and Kenyatta Coates. So you tell him. Thompson also explicitly acknowledged that the government would attempt to prove additional facts as sentences. The district court accepted his plea. Now this is where it gets real tricky. It says, second paragraph, it said Thompson also claimed that the government had agreed with 2 individuals to recommend that Thompson receive a sentence of about 10 years if those individuals will participate in a government investigation, which they did. Third party cooperation. Got 2 people on the streets. He talked to 2 people on the street and they said, okay, they'll participate in the investigation. They say they'll do it. But what Thompson don't understand is he should have never entered a blind plea, and he should have never admitted to selling drugs to anybody that was part of the conspiracy, because them guys, they could have wanted to go on trial and say, you the head of the case. So by you being head of the case, you have to go to trial because you the head of the case. But you didn't go to trial. You admitted to selling drugs to Darnell Jahan and Kenyatta Coates.
Shout out to the homeboy Fiji for that very interesting video right there. He does a lot of good work. So if y'all want to follow him, man, go to Positive Lifestyle Management YouTube channel, PLM News. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the homeboy Fiji. Like I said, when he throw a paperwork party, I'll bring the popcorn. Hit me in that comment section, y'all. I really want to know how y'all feel about this particular situation, man. A kingpin like Marvell Thompson telling on the people, man, the top of the pyramid, telling on the bottom of the pyramid, and the bottom of the pyramid, telling on some more niggas that's at the bottom of the pyramid. And this is so on and so on saga, man. This is one of the main reasons why kids stay out of the streets. Stay out of the streets. Ain't nothing wrong with being on the sidewalk for as long as you can. Or if you don't have to get in the streets at all, just don't do it. It's time for a change in our community. We can no longer have these type of individuals destroying our community and then trying to say they own ass when they be brought and held accountable for their actions, man. This man to be out in 2028, like I said earlier. I don't know what's going to happen at that point, but I will say this. I'm not sure if it end up like Alpo Martinez or what. But tell me in the comment section how y'all feel about this whole entire debacle. I'll be back later with more news and commentary, more reactions, everything else. It's your homeboy Loafing to Go. Peace.
I apply the pressure. I apply the pressure. I apply the pressure. Yeah, pressure. I apply the pressure.